Don't let the white chalk lines find me. Don't let me die in the streets like an animal. I'm a man. I swear I'm a man. When a black man walks, a whole generation lives to see another day, another sunrise, another mouth to feed, another seed, another sacrifice saved, another poem, another hungry burning cross, another mother breathed, and another sun is clear.
They tried to kill the people. Then they tried to kill the memory. Before the first note is played, or before the blood is spilled, Sinners is about something older than horror. It's about memory.
Blues, it wasn't forced on us like that religion. No, sir. We brought this with us from home.
Across African American, Native American, and Irish histories. Music in these communities is more than sound, it's a sacred technology.
Born with the gift of making music so true, it can pierce the veil between life and death, conjuring spirits from the past and the future. This gift can bring healing to their communities, but it also attracts evil.
It conjures spirits, it mourns the dead, and resists the silence. This isn't a metaphor, but rather survival. And this is something the film nails right in the coffin. That's why Sinners hit me so hard. Beyond being a horror masterpiece, it asks, who do we let into our culture? And what does it cost? First, let's talk about Sammy. He's one of those special people with the gift to bridge time and space through his singing. At one point, Sammy sings the line, "Somebody take me in your arms tonight." His voice doesn't just entertain, it calls. It's an invocation, a prayer disguised as a melody. And that prayer was definitely heard, not just by God, but by something older and darker. You see, if you look at his nickname, Sammy, it's rooted in the biblical Samuel, which means God has heard. This isn't just a coincidence. Early in the film, a native man warns some people. He speaks not with just urgency, but with knowledge, the kind passed down through trauma and ritual. He knows the danger isn't just violence, it's infiltration.
He's not what he seems. God forbid you let him into your home. And if so, we need to act now. Chihoya, Chiapsan, Takala.
That's when we're introduced to the old vampire rule. They can only enter if you invite them.
Don't let me in. We'll just sit there blocking the door.
Of course, it's not just about letting a monster into your home, it's more about letting something foreign into your spirit, your space, and your culture. In this context, the vampire becomes of a metaphor for institutions, seductive, smiling, and promising opportunity. And when they get inside, they drain your soul. A really good quote that stood out to me is that the function of freedom is just to free someone else. But as we know, freedom isn't always easy, and invitations to freedom aren't always liberating. Sometimes they come at a cost. Even the title Sinners highlights the idea that sin can feel good, even liberating, until it doesn't. Here, I'll give an example. Okay, the twins buy the juke joint as a form of freedom, a space for self-expression, joy, and ownership, but it's also the site of temptation, violence, and danger. The vampires offer a different kind of freedom, eternal life.
She just passed.
I wish in my heart that we'd have met sooner. I would have liked to have saved her mother from her fate.
But that too comes with a price. And once again, if we just go back to the quote, the function of freedom is to free someone else, it resonates throughout. The main vampire remnant is longing to see his lost loved ones, making him desperate. But he makes his desperation as liberation. He offers Sammy freedom, but he really just wants control.
I want your stories, and I want your songs, and you gon' have mine.
And in this way, we can say that sin can be marketed as salvation. Even when Sammy is old, he is still offered this same thing called freedom. Without a doubt, the biggest message in the film is just about culture, how it survives, how it's stolen, and how it's defended. Historically, African Americans, indigenous people, and the Irish have all experienced cultural erasure. I'll give you 3 key points. You have Africans with the transatlantic slave trade, you have the Native Americans with the Trail of Tears, and then the Irish, you have the famine and the British imperial rule. These are the 3 people with music born of grief. Even on a deeper level, their spiritual systems were attacked too. For African Americans, root work and honoring ancestors were demonized by Christianity. Native Americans, their ceremonies were outlawed all the way up until 1978. And yet, music and the myth endured. For black communities, gospel and abuse became prayers when prayers weren't safe. In every case, sound once again becomes survival. I'm pretty sure you heard this song somewhere. The spiritual held practical guidance. Fugitives escaped slavery were advised to wade in the water to throw off tracking dogs. And while we're at it, even though this has nothing to do with music, but did you know the hairstyle cornrows was often used as maps for escape routes? The next thing I want to get at is that preserving culture isn't just about remembering. It's also about who gets to decide what culture looks like, who defines it, and who gets to say what's sacred and sinful. In Black America, this struggle is often played outside the walls of the church. The Black church in Sinners is both sanctuary and a shackle. It's a place where salvation is preached, yet expression is policed. Sammy's father, a devout preacher, echoes a long history of religious judgment that condemns the blues as devil's music.
Drop the guitar, Sammy.
But what if the blues isn't sin at all? What if it's a form of testimony? The blues doesn't mock God, it mourns life, it speaks to trauma, grief, and survival. All things gospel music does and also wrestles with, just in a different way. We'd like to introduce a tension stated by the great W.E.B. Du Bois, called double consciousness, the inner conflict that Black Americans face when trying to be both faithful and free. In one world, they are devoted, in the other, they are expressive, but rarely both at once. I think this is captured beautifully when Sammy defiantly plays his guitar despite his father's warnings. The message is clear. The church itself is not the enemy, but it cannot own the blues. To own the blues will mean to own pain, and pain in this world belongs only to the people who survive it. One scene that confused a lot of people was the ending scene, Sammy's final scene where he sings "This Little Light of Mine." It's a declaration. The guitar wasn't just an instrument, it was his calling, his gift from God. And in the end, it saved him. If Sammy had given up, he wouldn't just be surrendering his music, he'd be giving up the light that carried him through the darkness. Even at the end fight, there's also something deeper going on in that scene. A spiritual confusion, a moment where trauma and belief collide. When Sammy starts to pray, the vampire remnant joins in his prayer.
Which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done.
It's unsettling because it blurs the line between salvation and manipulation. Remnick even says religion was forced upon me too. And in that moment, Christianity and vampirism becomes two sides of the same coin. Both systems imposed through violence, systems that demand obedience, and systems that consume. For Sammy, both the slave mindset and the inherited religion are forces he must wrestle with, but ultimately, he chooses his faith of his own terms through music. Another thing to mention is that the Black church isn't the only spiritual force in Sinners. Beyond the pulpit, we find older and quieter forms of beliefs, one that weren't enslaved but survived, and no one embodies that more than Annie. She is undoubtedly one of the film's most quietly powerful characters. She believes in hoodoo, and that belief matters. In a world where Christianity often claims the only spiritual truth, Annie's hoodoo practices is an act of resistance and remembrance. Her hoodoo was constantly mocked in a movie, and it's a constant cliche in Hollywood.
You got any magic to bring my brother back? Got a mojo back for him?
But if you watch the movie, it was her knowledge and expertise that kept him alive. Infiltration doesn't always look like violence, sometimes it looks like survival, and that's exactly what vampires count on. Now, let's take a look at Mary. She's a white-passing woman with a little bit of Black ancestry, and her identity becomes a bridge for the vampires to exploit. She was the key to let them in, not just because of her access, but because her proximity to whiteness gave her the benefit of the doubt.
What about them crackers?
What about him?
I can go feel them out before they're too far gone.
I can feel him out myself.
They'll tell me more than they'll tell you.
You see, Mary's character complicates the narrative. She isn't the obvious villain, but she's someone whose identity lets her move between worlds, and at that movement, it's exactly what the vampires needed. In Mississippi, the Asian community, especially Chinese immigrants, often occupied precarious positions. They acted as social and economic bridges between Black and white communities, caught between proximity to whiteness and shared marginalization. Many viewers blame Grace for letting the vampires in, but I think her choices deserve a deeper look. Grace had to kill her husband. My theory is that if she didn't, he was just gonna turn Lisa to convince Grace to spend eternity as vampires. And we've seen this same exact strategy used on Annie.
Everything gonna be alright now.
Grace doesn't betray the black community out of malice. She does it because the system set her up to choose between her family and everyone else. In a room full of black survivors, Grace is already a different minority, already stood at the edges of belonging. Her choice raises a difficult but necessary question: when survival is on the line, who gets protected and who gets sacrificed? Her story just mirrors a painful truth in real life, that white supremacy doesn't just prey on individuals, it fractures communities by color and pitting them against each other. Grace's tragedy is not that she opened the door, it's that she was cornered into thinking she had to. Something I thought that was really funny in the movie is that the vampires, even though they're cultish, aren't racist, and revealed that the KKK were just gonna come in the morning and kill them all.
Hogwood. He's the grand dragon of the Ku Klux Klan. That's his motherfucking nephew. They was always gonna kill you.
The vampires want to exploit black culture, while the KKK just wants to erase it. Together, they form a chilling spectrum of white supremacy. Imagine facing vampires at night just to deal with the KKK in the morning. The brutal timeline captures the core truth about black life under white supremacy. You're truly never free.
You was never gonna be free. You been running around everywhere looking for freedom. You know damn well you was never gonna find it.
One more bitter layer, the sawmill, which Smoke and Stack bought as a symbol of black enterprise. It was purchased with stolen money, blood money, and the building itself is soaked in history. First, it was a killing floor for white supremacists. Then it became a stage for vampires to feed on black bodies and culture. The brothers thought they were buying freedom, but what they really bought was haunted ground. The illusion of ownership is a system built to keep them indebted. Coogler used this to show that even progress can be compromised when tainted.
You built something here tonight, and it was beautiful. But it was built on a lie.
It's when you build your dreams on a foundation soaked in trauma, the ghosts never really leave. And after the blood is spilled and the monsters are gone, what remains isn't victory, it's memory, and memory has a cost. Something that I noticed is everyone who was unloyal and chose money over their morals died to a vampire.
I'm married, by the way.
Happily?
Careful, boy.
You're beautiful. I just want to taste you.
Annie was the only one to reject the money. She warned that Smoke's offer came with blood.
I'll trade you.
I don't want your money.
Don't be stupid now.
I ain't stupid. Your money come with blood.
All money come with blood, baby.
Not like yours.
This shit won't even spend nowhere else. Look
I
at
ain't
it.
going nowhere else. I don't need that cursed money you got.
Someone I really feel bad for is Cornbread. He didn't even want to go, but his wife insisted, tempted by the promise of money. He followed her out of love and paid the price. Also, did anybody notice that Cornbread was only married for 1 day?
For a long time no see. This here my wife, Therese.
Nice to meet you, Therese. The hell are you doing back here?
I buried my mama yesterday, Stack.
My condolences about your mother. We didn't make the repast, but me and Therese had to wait.
It's all right.
Sinners ends not with triumph, but with survival. And survival comes with scars. Sammy's scars.
Maybe once a week, I wake up paralyzed. Relive it that night.
He lives, but he's marked by everything he's witnessed. His physical wounds mirror a deep cultural truth, that black creativity, especially in the forms of music, carries the pain it was born from. The sawmill, soaked in black blood across generations, becomes a symbol of that shared trauma, a space where pain, labor, and sound are forever fused. Sammy gets old and lives out his career. He also rebuilds his guitar, the very thing that condemned him in the eyes of the church. It becomes his weapon of deliverance. By the film's end, the church still stands, the music still plays, and Sammy walks forward, scared but not broken. Coogler reminds us that culture survives, but never untouched, and never unbruised. It's safe to say that Sinners is gonna go down as one of my all-time favorite movies. What Ryan Coogler is continuing to do is just outstanding. With that being said, I hope you took anything from this video, and don't forget to leave a like and let me know how you feel in the comments. Thank you for watching Media Munchies, and peace.